The mission was conducted in the plain sight of the entire world, literally.
Happy birthday, Mother.
Back in 1961, when Apollo goals were first set, President Kennedy said, "Whatever mankind must undertake, all men must freely share." Apollo 8 remained true to that pledge. On television, it gave us a new look at the moon and a new look at ourselves. This is Thomas J. Watson, Jr.
10 years ago, it seemed probable that Russia would make this flight before us and would make a moon landing first as well. With the Apollo 8 flight, it becomes obvious that we have moved into the lead. We can be thankful that the United States has shown the world once again that it can accomplish any tasks it decides upon.
Thomas J. Watson, Jr., chairman of the board of IBM. Direct from the Deep Space Tracking Antenna in Madrid, these pictures were passed along to the Eurovision network, to London, Paris, Rome, West Germany, Scandinavia. They were seen in Warsaw, Prague, in Moscow. Citizen of the world, winner of the Nobel Prize for Peace, Dr. Ralph Bunche.
Apollo 8 and those stout-hearted astronauts have given to mankind a new and limitless perspective in the universe, and to the Earth an added dimension of proximity and neighborliness in the solar system. The epic flight of Apollo 8 in cracking the moon barrier demonstrates that man now has the capability to soar as high and as far as his dreams may project.
Dr. Ralph Bunche of the United Nations.
Okay, Houston. The moon is essentially gray. No color. Looks like plaster of Paris, or sort of a grayish peak.
Christmas Eve. The date of a mission is dictated by launch windows, which open and close in a long cycle. If you miss one, you wait. The December window opened the 21st, closed the 27th. So the date and hour of the Apollo 8 mission was really determined billions of years ago when the celestial clock was first set in motion. It timed out to the Christmas season. Bob Hope reported a Vietnam reaction.
All joy, believe me, all joy. The men I spent Christmas with have a lot on their minds, but the Apollo 8 trip turned out to be as important as anything. What the three astronauts did rubbed off on a lot of guys. Everybody grew a little tall, and that was double if you were away from home. And I think it'll be months before we know how much it meant to all of us and all the people of the world.
Bob Hope. It was Christmas on Earth and on the moon.
different thing to each one of us. I know my own impression is that it's a vast, lonely, forbidding type existence or expanse of nothing. It looks rather like clouds and clouds of pumice stone. And it certainly would not appear to be a very inviting place to live or work. Jim, what have you thought most about? Well, Frank, my thoughts were very similar. The vast loneliness up here on the moon is awe-inspiring, and it makes you realize just what you have back there on Earth.
Wasteland, desolate, inhospitable, in unremitting procession. The apparent speed at which you see these pictures is not real time. Only a technical camera was carried on the mission. Altitude about 70 miles, shot with a long lens.
Frank, I think I can say without contradiction there's been a mighty long dry spell up here.
I guess you can say anything you like without contradiction.
This film was taken through an optical sighting instrument on board the spacecraft. Two separate images converge on the single eyepiece. It was intended only for space navigation. Navigation in space requires 3 dimensions instead of 2. Scientific sextant observations made on Apollo 8 were a practical, potentially vital gathering of scientific data. Taking the longer view of the scientific value of the mission, comment was made by Dr. Leo Goldberg, astronomer.
I believe the Apollo 8 mission will ultimately prove to be of enormous scientific importance as a vital step that had to be taken before men actually land on the moon. Once they do, the exploration of the moon is bound to give us crucial information on how the moon and other bodies in the solar system were formed. Furthermore, the mission proved that we now have the capability to move large and complicated scientific equipment around in space and to deploy it almost anywhere we wish to in the space between the Earth and the Moon. I find this to be a very thrilling prospect indeed. But no matter what happens in the future, the voyage of Apollo 8 will be looked back upon as the mission that proved we could really operate in space on a large scale.
Astronomer Leo Goldberg of Harvard University. The condition of zero gravity, when you get accustomed to it, has some very practical applications. The command module on Apollo 8, serial number 103, did not change at Christmas, but there was talk of reindeer and Santa Claus.
Right, he was looking for a chimney on 103 here, but he didn't see any.
You could have left the hatch unlocked for him.
I'll think about that one.
Think real hard, Jim. ECOM says he could have slipped down the steam duct.
Sounds good about that time, Phil, if it's boiling water. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. And God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. And God saw the light, that it was good. And God divided the light from the darkness. And God called the light day, and the darkness he called night, and the evening and the morning were the first day. And God said, "Let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters." And God made the firmament, and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament. And it was so. And God called the firmament heaven, and the evening and the morning were the second day. And God said, "Let the waters under the heaven be gathered together into one place, and let the dry land appear." And it was so. And God called the dry land earth, and the gathering together of the waters called he